This is the first time we've done this, and maybe the last, we'll see. We're doing an AMA today where you can ask me anything, and you can do that live in the room by waving at me, and if you've got questions, Victoria and I will answer them. If you are at home on the internet, watching on the live feed, if you type your questions into the Facebook feed, that if you see me, I'm not Googling the answers to questions, I'm looking for questions. So we'll be doing a bit of that as well. You can join in at home and ask us any questions you like as well. In terms of the format, we're doing this because Victoria and I, my name's Rob, of course, we're new. It'd be nice for us to get to know you and you to get to know us. The format today is, therefore, you can ask us anything. We'll say a little something first, so you've got something that you can ask us about. We have a prize for the best question we hear, and if you're watching on the internet, you can't have it, I'm sorry. But if you're in the room, jelly babies for the best question, because we also would be liking to get to know you. It's not a sentence. When you ask us a question, can you say your name and your favourite thing either about Calverley or about the church? Okay? Hello, my name's Rob. My favourite thing is being the vicar of Calverley. So just a quick thing like that. That would help us, because then it's a little bit two-way. Any questions you like, though. And you should feel free to eat as we're going along if you've brought some stuff with you. And there's some stuff over there at the back. Again, if you're on the internet, I don't know what's over there in your house, but we've got... Don't eat the bread. Okay. 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 But there you go, there's some cakes. So we'll start now. We're going to share a little bit, and then if you've got any questions, that'll be good. Victoria, have I missed anything else before we start? I don't think so. Over to you.
Am I on?
You're live.
Can everyone hear me? Yes. Brilliant. I am not a gifted orator like Rob, so I'm going to use some speaker's notes for about 5 minutes, and then I'll pass over to Rob. So hello, I'm Victoria, your new vicar's wife. I'm going to share with you a little bit my story and the circuitous route that I've taken to arrive at St Wilfrid's, Calverley. So I was born in London 43 years ago, the eldest of two. And thanks to my dad's job, we lived in Trinidad, Hong Kong and Iraq until I started primary school in Kent. I did my schooling in a wonderful Kentish village, much like Calverley. And the church there was also the centre of the community. I was confirmed there, loved being part of the choir, the brownies and guides, the youth group, Sunday school camps, all sorts. I did my schooling, pretty much loved it, and most of the time. And I chose to study my favourite subject, which was biology at the University of East Anglia in Norwich. Woo! I was lucky enough to have lived back in the time pre-Brexit, where there was Erasmus years, and I got to study in Nice for 1 year as part of my degree. And I worked on studying African clawed toads when I wasn't swimming in the Mediterranean straight from my front door or supposedly learning French. And I was also blessed in that period of my life to be part of two fabulous churches, one in Norwich as a student there and one in Nice. I graduated in 2000 and went to do an internship in Luxembourg in the European Commission using my science and French. And I really, for the first time, lived on my own and met other interns from all over the world. My world expanded exponentially, and we had many deep philosophical debates late into the night between parties, sports events, and ski trips. And I did do some work on harmonising member state blood safety standards somewhere in the mix there too. Anyway, in Luxembourg, this was the first time that was really without a church family or a group of Christian friends. And I was really being asked tough questions about my faith from people with other perspectives on life. I really struggled, and I came to the conclusion at that point in my life that faith only worked in a Christian bubble and didn't stand up to scrutiny. So I labelled myself an ex-Christian for the next 7 years. My next adventure was 2 years teaching science in Rwanda with voluntary services overseas, again making good use of my French too. I worked, played and travelled incredibly hard for those 2 years. Rob arrived as a volunteer in my second year, and I was his in-country trainer, trying and failing to teach him Kinyarwanda, bartering, buses, etc. Rob made his feelings towards me very clear very quickly. I was less immediately enamoured, but as the only single straight under 60-year-old male volunteer, it was slim pickings, and so we quickly got together and lived in each other's pockets for the entire year before backpacking, just the two of us, through southern Africa for 3 months, which will really make or break a relationship. It was really a blessed time because we had no responsibility other than to teach our classes, long holidays, no past lives or families, such that we were able to profoundly just form as a couple. We landed back in the UK in 2003, and within a couple of weeks, Rob had worked out that we should get engaged and married. Life was much better together than apart. Again, I took some persuading, but Rob's wisdom won out, and we had a glorious wedding day in July 2004, and a horrendous honeymoon in Egypt, suffering Ramses' revenge. Say no more. Note that we married as non-Christians, so where we are today was far from what I thought I was signing up for. I don't know why it's made me teary. Sorry. It's been a journey. It's been quite an emotional one to get here. Rob became a Christian about 6 months after we married, much to my chagrin. We set up home in Bramley, just down the road from here, so we know and love the area, and then in Holt Park. Rob taught maths, and I fortuitously stumbled into project management and strategy at a consulting company before moving across to join Halifax Bank, which then became Lloyds Bank. And I stayed there until 2018. In 2007, we took a gap year and did a teacher exchange to Calgary in Canada. We skied a lot and became very involved in our local church there to make friends quickly. This church loved me gently back to faith. They still couldn't answer all my questions, no matter how many courses I took, and God didn't dramatically appear to me or give me an undeniable gift of the Spirit. But I just quietly knew that I was at a crossroad with a decision to make as to whether I would continue to walk away from God or just to turn on the spot, still far out in the wilderness, but facing towards Him, knowing that each baby step that I would take through life from then on would take me nearer to Him. Once back in Leeds at the end of our gap year, I worked on many different back office roles with Lloyds, predominantly on large-scale transformation projects, either selling off bits of the bank, merging the bank, or restructuring the bank post-banking crisis. I mostly loved my job. I got to travel plenty, manage teams, really challenge myself, and we were posted to Geneva for 3 years as part of my job, where Amelia was born. Unfortunately, years of high-level corporate pace and sitting at a desk for long hours brought about very bad insomnia and backache, and I made the unbelievably difficult decision to step out of the rat race in the summer of 2018 when Rob started Curacy. This actually timed very well. With Rob starting a job that entailed working weekends and evenings, we would have rarely seen each other, and I saw precious little of Amelia, who was only 4 at the time. We were changing town, house, starting primary school, making new friends, so it was time to be wife and mum and to mend my broken body and sleep. In all honesty, the last 3 years have been seriously challenging for me, living in often crippling, long-lasting pain, for a long time without any diagnosis or prognosis, on a roller coaster of hope and despair. I've had to reevaluate my identity from sporty, high-flying, breadwinning doer to loving and learning compassion and empathy and simply living slowly. Part of these 3 years, though, has required me to rethink my work, what I'm passionate about and gifted at. We landed on me being a social landlady. So I've been to auction and renovated, tenanted and managed some houses, giving good, safe, long-term homes to families that really need them. I also use the time to train as a magistrate, and I sit at court several times a month across Bradford and Leeds, which really links to my passion for social justice. I'm delighted to settle here in Calverley and bring Amelia up here to grow roots and friends and community. We don't really know anyone here yet. We're mortal and quirky and lovely. We're looking forward to getting to know you and continuing to see God's love at work here, building on the legacy of Robin, Phil, John, and so many faithful people before them and here now. Thank you for having us.
Have you seen mine? There we go. Thank you, Victoria. I'll give you a rather shorter version because you've heard so much of it in what Victoria shared there, and also you get a good dose of me every week. But I guess you want to know where the new vicar came from because you can't send him back. I was born in Aldridge, near Walsall. Aldridge is very much to Walsall as Calverley is to Leeds, so I'm sort of familiar in that way. I have a younger sister, Sarah. She'll be up when she can. She lives in London. My parents divorced when I was 8, but they get on famously now, and you'll see them both up here as well. It was not a Christian house, and I found God when I was 13. I became a vegetarian and a Christian, and both of those things lasted about 6 years, which I think is not a bad run. School, I went to the local grammar school where there were just boys, which probably helped. I'd have been distracted as it was. And I went through that with this ADHD that you could ask about, and I didn't know about until very, very recently. So school was hard. But I grew up reading books and canoeing and playing with Lego for far longer than the average person should. And then I left there on a year out with Youth for Christ, and again landed in Bristol with more questions than I had answers. I didn't know what to do with that. I could have used a mentor or a guide who connected in a different way, perhaps, but I left my faith behind at that point and came up to Leeds just after that to do mining engineering at Leeds University because that seemed like fun. Who doesn't want to spend 3 years learning how to blow things up, right? So I did that, finished that, and decided that I didn't really want to stop having long holidays and went into maths teaching, because that seemed easier than a proper job, and that children probably were more interesting than rocks as well. Found that I liked it, so I started maths teaching. I did a couple of years in Keighley, realised it was actually hard work, didn't want to do that either, and in a bit of a crisis went off to Rwanda, where I met Victoria, and you've heard much of the story from there. So we met there, as we said, as ex-Christians, which was a thing for us to bond on, and we married shortly thereafter, came back, and we moved up to Leeds because I'd got some connections and Victoria's were here, there and everywhere. I thought, okay. So Leeds really has been home since 1995 for me and since 2004 for both of us, on and off, although we do keep leaving. I fell back into teaching, discovered that I did like it and was quite good at it, got involved in some teacher training stuff and loved that, but I moved around a lot, so I taught at, or you'll hear me talk about Denton Park up the road, but Horbury, where else was there? Boston Spa, Bingley Grammar School, here, there and everywhere. Before the last 3 years, we went over to Switzerland with Victoria's work, where I taught a private school there, and that was very nice. Sadly, the Lord called us back here, and we came, and you'll hear that at different points. We love that. That's where Amelia was born, but there was a real call on our lives that had been going for a few years. Somebody called and said, Rob, I think you should be a vicar. The vicar at St. George's, where we'd been going to church. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And Victoria said, no, you're not. Or at least if you are, let's see. Do you know how to study theology? Can you write an essay? Can you do this? Can you do that? Actually, all these tests that she put in front of God and in front of me were really sensible ways for us to work out, I do like that. I can do this. So that was the journey of calling towards ordination that started just before we went to Switzerland. We came back from there. I was trained at Bristol. I was at Trinity College down there. You might know people who've been down there. And then we did 3 years in Osmonthorpe and Halton, where that was, I guess you're a vicar with P plates on when you're a curate. Kind of trained, but still really learning to drive. And this is my first role as a vicar. If you want to know a little about me, I have many hobbies and passions. They come and they go swiftly. I paint, but I'm not a painter. I drum. I wouldn't say I was a drummer. I've had 2 motorbikes. I'm not a biker. I did stand-up comedy for a while. I'm not a comedian. I've taught canoeing. I've driven vans. I've pulled pints. I've climbed rocks. I've got Slightly more tattoos than perhaps I should, and not as many as I'm sure I will have. I love to travel, and variety and fun and pizza are important to me. I love running and cycling and beer and winning quizzes. I love C.S. Lewis, who has put his finger on so many things about Christian faith that I struggle to express. And he said that joy is the serious business of heaven, and that is probably my guiding mantra in this. I dislike fruit. I dislike certainty. I dislike heights. I dislike hot weather. I think that God loves us. I think he stepped into the world as Jesus, and he's still here through his Spirit. And that having glimpsed the hope and joy of life with God, letting him call the shots is the best way, and I can't go back however much I get stuck sometimes. And I love the church. I'm coming to love this one, but it is broken and messy, but it is the best way to follow Jesus. And if what he claimed to be is what he was, then it is the most important and wonderful project that there ever was. That is me. So, lots to get your teeth into there, literally as well. There are scones and bits and salad, but we've got 44 minutes left. Have a moment to gather your thoughts and to think, but Amelia too has got something to say. You just want to say hello. Amelia, say hello.
Hello, I'm Amelia.
Amelia's going into the school next door, into year 3, and how do you feel about that, Amelia?
Bit nervous and it's Miss Hurley.
Yes, a bit nervous, but also excited. She's had a good week. But if you've got questions for her, that's fine too. So, the way we'll do questions is if you stick your hand up and ask me, I'll repeat it so that we can all hear it, and one of us will try to answer it. We've got a question at the back. Hello, sir. Tell us your name and something you love about Calverley or this church. Your name's Joseph and you like school. Oh, that is brilliant, Joseph. What's your question, Joseph? Say that again. Am I good at flying drones? No, I never have. I never have. I'd like to be one day, perhaps. I would. Perhaps not immediately. You've got one. Good. Brilliant. Victoria, maybe that was a question for you. Are you good at flying drones?
I've never tried either, but I'd love to have a go.
You'd love to have a go. Good question. An early entry into winning a box of Jelly Babies.
Yeah.
Hello, tell us your name and something you love about Calverley. Your name's Alicia and you like seeing your friends every day. Oh, what's your question, Alicia? How many different countries have we been to? Wow, lots. Amelia, how many countries have you lived in?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Two.
Two for you. Switzerland and here.
Yeah.
Okay. Victoria?
I've probably lived in 8 or 9 countries for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
And we've lived jointly in England, Canada,
Switzerland,
Rwanda as a couple.
Yeah.
Yes.
And been to many more. St. Augustine, who I love, really smart fella, African theologian from hundreds of years ago, said that the world is a book, and he who does not travel reads but a chapter. If we get the chance to move around and see the world, which is, we don't all, but that is a lovely thing to do, and we love to travel. Good question. Thank you, Alicia.
And we've landed here in Calverley, so we've tried out lots of places, and this is the best one.
Yeah,
so.
we picked this. I choose it. Other questions? Yes, at the back. Simon. You like the woods? I love the woods. What's your question, Simon, who likes the woods? That is a good question. That is a good question. So the question is, what football team do I support? It ties to one of the questions that was on Facebook. My friend Johnny asked when Arsenal were going to next win some silver, I think. I did ask the father, and all I heard was laughing. No, sorry, I asked my father. I come from a long line of Aston Villa fans, which probably means I don't really support football. It's kind of switched me off. So football is not my sport, but if forced to choose, whichever one you like. Victoria?
you would rather be watching the Tour de France or the NFL.
I love the American football. I do, yeah. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. I don't know why.
It's a dubious response. And I don't follow football at all, I'm afraid, no.
Good question, though. Yeah. Other questions? Yes, sir. Tell us your name and something you love.
Amelia, living in Switzerland, can she yodel?
Good question from Peter, who loves. What did you? From David. David, who loves. No, what do you love? You got to tell us something you like. Yes, but what you got to tell us something you like. No, just something. What do you love about Calverley? Yeah.
You know, when you move here into Calverley, you never know where you put your roots down. My wife and I, we couldn't have chosen a nicer place. People, churches, schools, we've got everything here. We've got so many organisations going on, nobody should create them.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Great.
Oh, well, David's won there. He loves everything about Calverley. What a place to put down roots. Top that. But, Amelia, can you yodel? You don't know what that is? We were in the French bit. I don't think they yodel as much in the French bit.
We will plug that gap in her education, though. That's a good, and if anybody
Good
can help
question.
us, that's good. She has seen lots of long cow horns and lots of processions with all the people from the Swiss Alps in their costumes, and she's also seen us in our dirndl and lederhosen. So if there's the next Kaylee, perhaps we'll crack out the dirndl and the lederhosen. Beware.
Go on.
What I do know how to do is eat strawberries. I really like them.
You really like strawberries. Good girl. Good question. Thank you, David. Alexa, you got a question. Alexa, tell us something you love about Calverley. You like going to the park? I like going to the park. What's your question? Say it again.
Do you go to any
Do we go to any sports?
sports?
Do we go to any sports, Victoria?
Well, we've never watched Wimbledon, and we apply for the ballot every year, so we would love to do that one time. We have gone and watched the squash championships very often over in Manchester, because that's much easier to get tickets to. But I don't think we've
Sometimes my friends who know about sports take me to the rugby and explain it at me while it's happening. I quite like to go and see the rhinos. That's about it for watching sport. And I do like watching the cricket. I don't understand it, but it was lovely to see that being played on the green yesterday. I gather it was a good day for all.
Did your daddy do well at the cricket yesterday?
No.
Oh, no.
His team did.
Good.
We're all about the team. Good question. Next question. A hand at the back, sir. Now. You like Harry Potter? Say that again now. What are Amelia's favourite things to do? What are your favourite things to do?
Shall I give you some
Hang on,
clues?
make sure you've got a microphone. What's your favourite things to do?
Piano.
You like playing the piano? What else do you like to do?
Cartwheels.
Cartwheels. Making stuff?
Inventing.
Yeah. Yep. And mindlessly watching YouTube for hours on the iPad. Yeah?
Mega Man.
Yes. Good questions. Yeah.
Great.
Good question. Thank you.
Great, yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
My name is Ruth, and I like the library.
This is Ruth, and she likes the library. I like the library as well, Ruth.
I was wondering, what book, apart from the Bible, has had the biggest impact in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. What book, apart from the Bible, because obviously definitely would have been the Bible, has had the biggest impact on your life?
You answer that one because you're the reader and I'm...
Well, I think you can have a go. Have a think while I'm going.
I will.
I remember reading, when we were in Rwanda, we found a bookshop on holiday once. I was like, oh, and I read, this is really cheesy, I read The 7 Habits of Effective People by Stephen Covey, and it got me starting to actually think about who I was and how it worked to be a human being. I would say that, and Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein, which I think is surprisingly informative about notions of civic duty and would be in my Desert Island book. Yeah, Victoria, you got a...
I have thought of one, yes.
You don't need that.
Oh, yes, I don't. Mine would be the 5 love languages. I think that before reading that book, we just had so many frustrations where I would be desperately trying to love Rob in one way and he wouldn't be receiving my love and I'd feel very frustrated, and he'd desperately try and love me a different way that would completely miss me. And we both realised that we were showing each other love but not receiving that love. And I think once we learnt to speak each other's love languages, that just created so much of a better relationship. So that revolutionised our marriage.
Good answer, good answer. Amelia, your most impactful book?
Impossible Parents.
The Impossible Parents. Find for yourself such prophetic truth as you wish in there. I think you're in for a shout of winning some jelly babies there, Ruth. Very good question. Okay. Yes, question over here, sir. Tell us your name, something you love, and what's your question? Or finish your mouthful. Was there a... Do I like technology? That is a good question. I do like technology. I'm a bit of a yes. Not as much as some of the important people who help make church one, but I do like technology. I'm an early adopter of things. Yes, good question.
You should tell them that you're a maths teacher.
Yes, because I used to be a maths teacher. I think those two things go together. When I was a teacher for all those years, I used to like the technology there. Victoria, do you like technology?
I like the benefits of technology, but I like that I have a CIO, Chief Information or Chief Technical Officer at the house, and I don't have to do any of that.
We've divided. If it's got wires or oil, I'm in charge of it. Which he's mostly in charge of getting somebody else to fix it, but at least I'm in charge of it, yeah. Good question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Theo. Good question.
Thank you, Theo. Good question. Do you like technology?
I can't remember.
You don't know. Okay, that's fine. Good questions here. Yes, at the back. Tell us who you are and something you love about Calverley. You like what? The alpacas, yes. Tell us about my favourite tattoo. On me? Okay, those are two very different questions. You think, what's your favourite tattoo on Daddy?
The word that says Amelia.
The one that says your name, yes. So Amelia's name is written on my arm here, and it's got her birthday. I like that one. My favourite tattoo, I have a cross on my arm that I got at the end of our year in Africa. That is it's a picture of kind of the journey towards faith that I was on. It's an ankh cross on my arm. I remember getting that. Yeah.
My answer is simple because I only have one tattoo, so that would be my favourite one. And it's just a little one on my ankle here, and it's again, I got it at the same time as Rob at the end of our African adventures it represents the moonstone statues that we saw of two lovers sort of intertwined that were in all the African markets that we would see. And it also has a little symbol of infinity as part of that. So cheesily, mine and Rob's infinite love.
Well done. Correct response. Good question, Sally. Next, yes.
I'm Kimberly. My favourite thing about Calverley would be the fact that you have everything on your doorstep, so you can walk in one direction or the other, like towards the canal, you've got a lovely river, or into the woods, you've got lovely woods and everything.
Yes.
On your doorstep. My question is, from your time in Africa after you spent your time together, have you got like a standout moment?
Okay. Good question. Kimberly, who loves the nature that you can get into all around us. What's our standout moment from that time in Africa after we got together?
There are so many. But if top one would be after a very long journey on the back of an open lorry, sat on sacks of turnips and potatoes in the night time, and just we were coming up to a game reserve that we were going to be staying in tents at, and the lorry lights would just pick up just animals, all sorts of animals just crossing the road. That bit was great until I realised that, yes, we were sleeping in tents and those same hippopotamuses and elephants and lions would just be roaming around. So I didn't go to the toilet all night while we were there. I was petrified. But it was magical just to see all the animals.
That was pretty special. I mean, spiritually, I would have to go with the sunrise we saw. It was nice when we were in Namibia, somebody dragged us along and said, come watch the sunrise over the dunes. That was good, but it could also be the first time as we got, sort of, you make your way down from Rwanda 20 years ago, things gradually get a bit more developed as you go. And at one point, when we got to Zambia, there was an Irish bar and I had a pint of Guinness.
And I saw myself for the first time in 2 years. My other top favourite was we learnt to dive out there in Malawi. We stopped off there for 3 weeks, and just learning to buddy together was really lovely. And we sort of just worked out that buddying, give me a little finger, buddying was best when we just sort of held each other's little fingers. So we just had the tiniest of connection. So we always knew the other one was there, but we could be off looking at whatever we were looking at and knew the other, we were still safe. That was sweet.
Anything else? Next question, please. Yes, Rachel. Hello, Rachel.
The thing I love most about Calverley is the community, the people. My question for you, apart from Calverley, what's your favourite place in the world? Easy.
Oh, go on.
I'll go first then. At the top of La Dole. So where we lived in Switzerland was a beautiful little village just outside Geneva, and we were 5 minutes away from the lakefront of Lake Geneva, but we were also very, very close. We were at the foot of the Jura Mountains, and straight up from the Jura Mountains there was a mountain called La Dole, and you could walk up it, and then from the top of there you could see just all of Lake Geneva and all of the Alps, and you just had the clearest view of Mont Blanc straight from the top of there. That's my slice of heaven on earth. Like, I would just go up there and that's where God was for me. And tops of mountains are just my God spots.
Yeah. Yeah, anywhere there's a view of a mountain, absolutely. Whenever we've been away, though, the place I used to love to come back to is the stretch of canal between the Abbey Inn and about here. When we were elsewhere in the world, that bit of canal that I learnt to run on, surrounded by trees, the reflection in the bridges, actually coming back to it having left, that has always been one of the places that calls me back. Yeah, sometimes within the Abbey Inn as well. I do like to be indoors if there's beer. But yeah, there and anywhere there's a mountain. Good question, Rachel. Amelia?
Switzerland.
Singapore. Singapore. Nice to go and be there, especially with family. Yeah. Yes. Great questions. So, there we go.
Ellie, I think similar to Rachel, you know, I love God is the community. Where in the world that you've not been to?
Where in the world would we most like to go? From Ellie, who also loves the community. Where would you most like to go?
Good things about New Zealand, and I've never ever been over to that part of the world other than a family trip to Fiji when I was very young, so I'd love to go there.
I'll come with you.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah. Recommended.
Oh, good. We'll
yes,
hear more about that then.
Yeah, New Zealand speaks to me.
Yeah.
Good question. They're very far back, and I'll work my way forward. Hello. Hello, Sarah. You love the church warden. You mean Sandra, don't you? Yeah. Bless you. I missed that. Sorry, go on. What music do we like? What's your favourite pop band? I love the Indigo Girls. Folksy pair from Georgia. Huge fan of the Indigo Girls. I love the Counting Crows. I got stuck in the 90s because that was my age. But by and large, stuff with guitars or drums is my thing. Yeah, those are my two favourite bands.
What's the band that plays there?
Yep.
Can you help Amelia out with the band that played the Eurovision concert?
Oh, no, because it's written in Icelandic. The Think About Things, that song. Deidi something. Do you know who I mean? It was the Eurovision Song Contest song from a couple of years ago. I can't pronounce it. It's written in Icelandic. I don't even know what all the letters are. But
Play it to you at some
Davey,
point.
somebody.
My favourite concert ever has been Billy Joel. He was excellent. And Robbie Williams, he was excellent.
Good questions. Good questions.
Dad?
Yes. Brian.
Come to Calverley to practice my DIY skills. You have come to Calverley. Victoria came with you and Amelia came with you. What do you hope as a family or individually to get from Calverley?
Oh, good question. Oh, put us on the spot. He's in a shout for some jelly babies there. What do we hope to get from Calverley having come here?
My answer is deep community. Having travelled around extensively, and for Rob's formation as a vicar, having to be a year in Leeds for BAP, 2 years in Bristol for college, 3 years in East Leeds for curacy, it's just felt life has felt very stop-start for at least the last 7 years. And so I'm so ready to just stay still and put down roots and make friends that don't have expiry dates. You know, it just plant things in the garden where I can watch them mature. See Amelia go through school, make lifelong friends. That sort of sense of just becoming rooted somewhere is what I'm really hoping to get. So depth of friendship and depth of community.
Amelia, what are you hoping to get from Calverley?
Good school.
Good school. Does it feel like you've got one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I am hoping, I mean, this is going to be the subject of every sermon for the next 10 years or longer, I don't know. But I am hoping to find community, to work out what it is together to be a place so filled with love and joy and hope, even in hard times, that the people around us can't help but come and know what's going on. And my hope is to have found a place where other people want to do that too, and that stuff is catching and joyous and releasing, and that we send each other out and bring each other in. And that's a bit vague and waffly, but it seems like a place where there is a passion for doing church well with each other. So that's what I'm hoping to do even more of, and to work out what my role is as we do that. Good question. You might have to share them. Yes. Am I enjoying my running? Have we done any particular runs around the world? I'm strictly amateur status these days. The older I get, the more I'm content to just shuffle along slowly, and I miss running well. But my favourite run has been the Great North Run up in Newcastle. I did that a couple of times, and it's the biggest half marathon in the world. It's today, isn't it? Yeah. Good on it. I don't know if I'll ever get to do it again, but that's my favourite one. But we do, yeah, we used to like that when we could. When you get somewhere new, you get to know it by running. Good question.
I would just like to be able to jog 2 kilometres again. That's my goal. My back has not allowed me to run for a number of years now, and I'm desperate to run again.
Another one at the back, Simon. Ooh, what's my favourite pizza topping? Simon, what's yours? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, that's fine. That's fine. You're allowed, Victoria.
Rob's is Hawaiian. That's a slam dunk.
Why would you do that to me? People will now buy me Hawaiian pizzas. Don't. Ham and mushroom, can't go wrong. Ham and mushroom, but yeah, spicy chicken. I don't like to pin myself down. I find that pizza is a broad church, so I'll mix it up. But as long as there's no fruit, I don't mind.
Mine
Good.
is the spicier, the better. So induja sausage, all sorts, pepperoni, salami. I love it.
Good question. Good question. Anything else? I'm not going to make
What's
us do
yours?
the whole hour if we don't need to. Sally. If I was an animal, what would I be? What would you be, Sally? Oh, you don't know. Have a think. Get back to me. Oh, I don't know. I'd be fudge. I'd be our cockapoo. She has a pretty sweet life, right? She doesn't get as much pizza as I would like, but I'd be somebody's dog. Could that be nice? It's nice to be part of a crew, part of a pack. And ours is called Fudge. She's little and fluffy and brown and soft. What would you be?
I think I'd be a bird, so I could soar up to my mountain tops and see the views.
Good answer, yeah.
And feel free.
Good answer. You'd be a parrot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? So you can fly as well, and they're ever so pretty. Yeah. Sally, what would you be? Maybe a rabbit. They're pretty soft. Yeah, all right. But a home one, not one constantly worried about being caught. No.
Any last burning questions, or shall we wrap it up?
Let me have a quick check, see if anything came in on
Yes.
over the...
Lucy wants to know if you'd rather have fingers for toes or toes for fingers.
Fingers for toes, definitely. Fingers are more useful. I'd rather have 20 fingers than 20
Exactly,
toes.
yeah, fingers for toes, yeah.
Good question.
Good question. Anything else?
Anything come through online?
No.
No. Okay.
Not that I can see. Thank you so much for doing this, and we won't drag this out any longer, I don't think.
Thank you.
We might do this again, and we'll, my urge is to encourage people to ask questions as we get through sermon series. So periodically we might do that sort of thing about different things. But this has been great. Anything I should say before we wrap this up? Would you take these to Ruth, who has asked, I think, the best question about books? She's over there, and see if you can persuade her to share some with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
one
very
more.
much.
Pauline. Certainly I will say grace before lunch.